Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. The game sucks. Here's how I'd fix it.
So before I get into this video, I want to talk about exactly what I want out of it. This video is meant to be genuine constructive criticism. It isn't me ranting, it isn't me shouting at Kabam for doing something daft. As easy as that is, and as enjoyable that is for some people, there's only so much value that it can give a person, and I want to help to genuinely improve this game. I love this game. There's a reason why every single one of you who is watching this video now is watching this video now, and that is because you love this game. You want to see it survive, you want to see it thrive, and I do too. So I want to genuinely offer my thoughts as to how we can help improve this game. Now, I'm going to kick it off with what I like, what I think is going well. There are a couple things I think is going well. I'm going to blast through them now. First things first, progression levels. I really like the way that the past couple progression levels have been introduced to the game, namely Valiant, and I say past, what I mean is the way that I believe the game is gearing up to introduce the next one. When new progression titles became linked to rank ups in your roster, I was concerned. It was very divisive in the community when we saw that Thronebreaker was tied to having a 6-star rank 3, and Thronebreaker and Paragon, certainly the first people to get this were the people who had spent a lot of money, and that's fine. There are always going to be disparities between those who spend and those who do not spend. There is nothing wrong with that. That is the way the game needs to work to survive. That is okay. But the way that Kabam introduced Valiant and the way I believe we are gearing up to introduce the next level of power in the game was beautiful, brilliant. The first 7-star rank 3 ever introduced into this game was given to Fintech for winning the Battle Realm Brawl. 7-star rank 3 version of Silk. It was given to a player who had demonstrated the utmost level of ability and raw talent. The 7-star rank 3 was introduced into the game because of your skill and not the size of your wallet. And by the end of 2023, the beginning of 2024, everybody could have become Valiant because you put your will and your wit and your skill as a player to the test in the Necropolis, and not because you mortgaged your house, right? Even I became Valiant, I think only a few months after the progression title was announced and introduced into the game. That just hadn't been true for so long, right? You know, I've always been behind the curve, and suddenly I'm right with it because the game is asking me to play well, not to spend well. I think we're seeing the same thing with 7-star rank 4s. I think with the Epoch of Pain, that was a really nice level of challenge, and we're seeing the same thing with the first 7-star rank 4s being added into the community, available for everybody, regardless of how much you spend. And yeah, some people have multiple 7-star rank 4s, but that's okay. That's the way the game works. That's the way it's always going to work. But we are gearing up for a new level of power. I believe they'll announce a new title soon, and yeah, it's going in the right direction. Number 2 thing I like, Alliance War Tactics. I think that combined with the increased rewards, the semi-regular Alliance War rewards updates, these tactics, when they provide good enough options to tackle all the nodes on the map, are really good ways of forcing people to diversify their rank ups and appreciate champions that may not necessarily be appreciated, right? The war tactics is what has led people to appreciate champions like Howard the Duck, like Luke Cage, like, I mean, there are lots, but those are 2 really good underrated options that have shone in top tier Alliance War, and they just wouldn't have in the same light without those tactics. So that's really, really good. If the pools of champions are actually capable of taking the nodes on the map, right? And we don't just get like 3 onslaughts and hazard shift, all right? If that doesn't happen, I love it. Sign me up all day long. Great stuff. But we have to talk about what I think is going wrong. And I'm not going to spend today talking about Battlegrounds, right? I'll make a small piece about that because it does need to be mentioned, but that's too obvious. I want to propose changes that will stimulate and jumpstart the game for everybody, not just the Barrowmans and the Andrew the Ruffs of the community. I want to get everybody excited about this game every single month through changes to the monthly event quest. But before I get into that, let's talk a little bit about Battlegrounds, and I want to tell you a story. A couple BG seasons ago, Barrowman got over 900 points in the Gladiator circuit. Now, if you were to start from zero today and play Battlegrounds back-to-back, no sleep, no rests, you're just going winning, 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 no losses, all the way up to 904 points, I believe he got, you would be there, I don't know exactly how long, but you would be there for up to a day, maybe even more than a day straight of just winning Battlegrounds. Bearing in mind that you get fewer and fewer points the higher up you go because your opponents have relatively little points compared to you. And Barrowman did this. He started a campaign that lasted 28 days. It went down to the wire. I was on that live stream. I watched that live stream as he fought Andrew the Ruff in the last match of the season. He faced the best players in the world every single day. He lost points, he won points. That man has not seen the sun in several years. He has a very severe vitamin D deficiency. Send love to Barrowman. But what did he have to show for it at the end? He got half a Titan Crystal and a 7-star Crystal. For that Herculean labor, he was given some insignificant relic resources, a fancy title, half a Titan Crystal, and 15,000 7-star Crystal shards. That is a crime. Right? And I'm just going to let that speak for itself, right? I think that should be evident that it is insane that Kabam are refusing to buff these rewards. From the looks of it, Kabam are trying to shift emphasis away from Battlegrounds and more towards Alliance War, just with the amount of love that Alliance War rewards have got in the time Battlegrounds rewards have not been updated. It does seem to be that that's their plan. And that does lean into the fact that, you know, they want these sagas, they want these tactic attackers and tactic defenders to have their time and force people to rank up different options. I think that's great, but Battlegrounds is the most exciting, the most engaging, the most infinitely variable piece of content that has ever been released in MCOC. And as a matter of fact, as a piece of content just generally in gaming, I think it is a masterpiece and it needs to be respected. But that's all I'm going to say about Battlegrounds for the moment. I want to propose changes and I want to actually offer feedback, offer advice. How can we do this? I don't just want to criticize, I want to bring in my own ideas. I want to bring in ideas that are going to stimulate the entire community, not just the people who don't go outside for 28 days straight. I want to get everybody excited for this game every single month through changes to the monthly event quest. Because currently, as it stands, every single month we have 150 fights, and that's not a joke. We have 18 fights in the first two quests, we have 24 in the second two quests each, and we have 30 quests in both of the final two, plus 6 for all the bosses, plus the Paragon I didn't even add into that final figure. And yeah, I mean, you'll be seeing some footage on the screen of, meta options blasting through these fights in like 20, 30, 40 seconds. And that's that's all well and good. But it's dull. It's dull, it's obsolete. I've always 100% explored the monthly event quest until very recently, and just these past few months, I just haven't done it. Right, there's no need. I am a mid to low level Valiant account. Free to play, that's all you're going to get. And it makes no difference to my account whatsoever. Absolutely none. Right, I'm going to get the refined XP from the Paragauntlet eventually. To be honest, Ascended 6 stars are dying every single day. 7 stars are where it's at. Those resources do not interest me. I'm getting one every 2 months. Right, if I just do 100 Ascension Dust and then the next month again. Like, the very piece of content that moves the story of the game forward is dead. I'm going to let that sink in. It's dead. Doesn't matter. And when I was,
when I was younger playing this game, when I was progressing through Act 5, Act 6, and we had the uncollected difficulty, and when Thronebreaker difficulty was first introduced, every single month was a new challenge, and it was genuinely exciting, and the rewards actually allowed me to change my account. And, that could just be the experience of a young, not particularly talented free-to-play player who was on the low end of average, so, okay, he may have felt the resources more, but seriously, I want to inspire that young, joyful feeling of playing this game every single month, and I have some ideas. I'm going to share them with you now. The first thing I want to know is that this content needs to be future-proof. Now, that's a difficult concept because this game is always moving forward, but there needs to be levels of difficulty up to and including the top level of Valiant, right? As I mentioned earlier, the game is gearing up towards a new progression level. The game is ready for a new level of power, right? And we cannot just introduce Paragon difficulty into the event quest and call it a day. That is not going to work because there are those at the top level of Valiant who are going to look at that and go, I don't give a shit, right? I'm probably going to look at Paragon difficulty if they were to release it tomorrow and go, I don't give a shit, right? We need to introduce content that will engage everybody from me to your average 1 million rated uncollected account all the way up to Andrew the Rough and Barrowman and FinTech and MSD, right? And it doesn't have to be the hardest content in the world for it to be fun and new every single month. But another aspect of being future-proof is also regular updates to the rewards, right? These rewards need to be monitored by someone who knows what they're doing and actually update them, because it doesn't really matter what rewards I suggest in my limited experience of giving rewards for things, because in 6 to 8 months or 10 months' time, they're going to be irrelevant again. The game moves fast. If I were to say, okay, everybody gets a 7-star awakening gem every time they explore this content, that's fantastic. Everyone's going to go nuts. But past about 3 or 4 months, everybody's going to have awakened all the champions they actually need, and suddenly that's looking a lot less appealing. So, just as an example, the rewards need to be updated regularly, semi-regularly, basically in line with Alliance War, or if Kabam ever get round to it, Battlegrounds. The next point I want to make is that this has to be simple. This has to be streamlined, right? A very common criticism of side quest and event quest as a pair nowadays is that they're too bloated, too many things going on, too many things to keep track of. They send you around the game fighting, targets, and then you come back and you get something from an objective, and then you go in and you go to a side quest, and then you get a key, and then you go in and you get a random path at another quest, and it's all, oh Christ. We have a Mysterium store now, which by the way also needs a buff. Please, Kabam, this is crap. But yeah, it needs to be streamlined. We need to know that this is the event quest, this is what I'm going to do, and yes, side quests are important, but there needs to be a reason for it, like an event, right? And it needs to be a thing in itself. These two cannot be connected in a way that is too complicated, right? There needs to be one thing, and you do one thing each month, and yet we can still have that and be refreshing. So what is my idea? What is the quest that is repeatable, but not repetitive? Simple, but not easy? How does that work? Well, I want there to be 2 quests, like in-game quests, every single month. 2 quests. One geared towards rank up resources, the other geared towards champion resources, so crystals and shit. And I want these quests to function slightly differently from ordinary quests. So, in an ordinary quest, you go in, you see the path, you plan, you put in your champions, then you bring them along and you use whoever for whoever. I want you to have to assign, like a general in a war, your champions in your team to a fight on the quest. So imagine you're like an officer in Alliance War, except you're assigning yourself fights to a team that you're then going to do yourself. So no one champion on your team of 5 can take more than 3 defenders on this quest of 10 defenders, right? So it's going to be relatively even split. And when you assign your champion to that fight, it's locked in. I think there should be like a unit, like you pay like 50 units or 100 units, and then you can swap your your assignments, but once you pick it, it's locked in, and then you have to use that champion for each fight. The difficulty of each fight needs to be broken up according to, obviously, progression level, all the way from Challenger to Conqueror to Uncollected to Cavalier to Thronebreaker to Paragon up until Valiant. Now, we don't have anything higher than Valiant currently, and I believe that in this level there's going to be a little bit of contention, because in the Valiant bracket, you have those who have just become Valiant, you have the free-to-play players like myself, and then you have the massive whales, those who have spent hundreds of thousands on this game, and I would like Valiant difficulty to be hard. I would like Valiant difficulty to favour, to swing towards the upper level of players, because again, I want this to engage everybody. I want this to engage everybody from Usafa down to your average Joe, okay? And as soon as we hit that new level of difficulty, I don't want to have to wait 24, 48 months to see a reflection of that in the event quest. As soon as we hit that new level of power, it needs to be reflected. Valiant needs to be cut in half, and that, the top end of the difficulty in the Valiant quest needs to be reflected in that new level of difficulty. But let's take the example of the Valiant level to talk you through the difficulty, right? These 10 fights each need to be challenging. Right, it is not beyond Kabam to design 20 fights per month that are tough, but appropriate, right? A Valiant player going through Act 9 is going to have to face health pools 700k, 800k, alright? They are going to have champions that are capable of taking this, and I would like the health pools to range from 600 to 850,000. Alright, these are big fights, but remember, you only have to deal with 20 of them, not 150 like you do in the ordinary contest. And between each fight, I would like there to be cutscenes. Remember, this is all my brainstorming idea. I like there to be cutscenes. The event quest is what dictates the very story of the contest, and you can really easily ignore that with the event quest. I don't even know what the hell's been going on since around 2018. Okay, I just have no idea. I don't care. I don't want to know. It's not relevant. That doesn't make up any part of my engagement with the game whatsoever. But in this, yeah, you can skip the cutscenes, but at least now you have some fancy animations to really immerse the player in the story as you go along. Between each fight, you see it unveiling in however many bite-sized chunks. The story is told to you visually as well as through words. And you'll do this twice. So one quest will have rewards geared towards crystals, the other will have rewards geared towards rank up materials. Now, I've left a document on screen with the example of the Valiant difficulty, and you can see what I'm trying to go for here. Obviously, there are just miscellaneous rewards between them, but this is the level that I believe is going to appeal to the Valiant players every single month, currently. Now, this is going to have to change. This is going to have to be updated. I recognise that every time someone suggests rewards in 5 months' time, 6 months' time, they're going to become obsolete. These are going to need to be updated semi-regularly to keep people engaged. And I'm not going to give an example of rewards for every single progression level because I don't have that sort of information. I don't know what's appropriate. As a Valiant player, I think I have a decent idea of what will be appealing, but I want the same level of appeal across the board. And before I end this video, I just want to address, a couple potential objections. I know no one suggestion is going to be perfect. Eventually, people are going to grow tired of this sort of format, and they're going to want something new. All right. That is the nature of the game. It is the job of Kabam as creators of the game to listen to these concerns. That is what worries me about the state of the game currently. They're not listening. They're not hearing the community about Battlegrounds, and I know not a lot of people have spoken about this, but they're not seeing where the improvements can be made and buffing their rewards in the game mode that I believe affects most people in the game, which is the monthly event quest. And look, we can add variations to this. Like, what about a nice twist? You get bonus units for every 10 seconds you shave off your completion time past a certain number. How about that? Would that be nice? As an appeal to come back and keep trying new strategies? Would that be nice? Or maybe you can change it for
I don't know, how much health you have left if you somehow ban the use of health potions. Wouldn't that be interesting? It keeps people coming back. It's really easy to add variations to these things to really engage people. And I suppose I'll address another objection. Rewards on a level such as this will kill Battlegrounds, right? And I think that goes to show just how badly Battlegrounds are in need of a buff. Battlegrounds as a game mode can look after itself. Nothing I can design will be inherently more appealing than Battlegrounds. There will still be players who want to play Battlegrounds just by virtue of it being Battlegrounds. That is kind of the state of affairs we already have, by the way. Nobody's there for the rewards. But if you buff Battlegrounds, it doesn't need to be too ridiculous, but it's very easy to bring Battlegrounds in line with this level of power without making it broken just on its appeal alone, okay? It is possible to buff Battlegrounds, yes. Buffing Event Quest doesn't necessarily mean that the meta has moved forward and everything else needs to be moved up in accordance. That's not too difficult, right? A monkey could design better Battlegrounds rewards than we have currently. Ducky here. Remember Ducky? He could probably design better Battlegrounds rewards than we have currently. So, yeah, this level of rewards is going to bring forth a meta shift where previously accepted rewards are going to look a bit crap, but such is the nature of this game, and it's necessary. And I believe that changes such as this will not only immerse the players in the story, but it will also keep people coming back. Everybody, from Barrowman to your average Joe in a challenger or uncollected account, will have this same childish joy coming into every single month, and that is what I want from this game. That is what will ensure this game survives this year, 2026, and beyond, as I'm sure we all want it to. But anyway, that is just about all I have for you today. If you have made it this far, over 20 minutes in, then thank you very much for watching, and bye-bye. Surely that's worth a subscribe. Anyway, bye-bye.